Hello? I don't normally chat to people in the audience. What? I don't normally chat to people in the audience, but there's a lawnmower man in. So, Jeff, good. Thanks, mate. Part of the when I started doing comedy, I wanted to be a political comic that dealt with like all the issues of the day and got audiences fired up. So together we change the world. But I can't do that because deep down I know I'll be all right. And the reason I know I'll be all right is because I got 2 ride-on mowers, and the rest of the world can fuck off when you've got a choice of ride-on. Like I watch stuff on the news, I'll be like, fucking hell, Trump got 2 ride-ons. What about North Korea? What the fuck about North Korea? I'm a middle-class, middle-aged white man that lives far enough above sea level that shit's got to go wronger than it can go in my lifetime for me to be affected. Also, I got 2 ride-on mowers. I was watching a thing about the Syrian refugee crisis, the greatest humanitarian disaster facing this planet. 1.8 million people killed, the birthplace of humanity and civilization turned to dust. We should get involved, can't get involved, both sides are in the wrong. But then I remembered one of the mowers has got lights on. Middle East is a fuck of a long way away when your second favourite mower is road legal. Sometimes I'll get back from a gig at 1 a.m. and I'll think, fuck it, it's dry, I'll mow now. And the other one, and Jeff, I'm glad you're here to back me up, the other one's an ATCO Fieldmaster. Fuck you. Jeff, if you go to any professional sports ground, they will have an ATCO Fieldmaster. If you go to Anfield, they've got an ATCO Fieldmaster. Admittedly, there's a 140, and mine's only a 102 cylinder, but I think a 140 is, I'm not too proud to admit, too much mower for me. I think 102 is all I need. There are some minor sports clubs that have only got a 90, and I look down on them, obviously. I got it from a cricket club. They're in financial difficulty, and they had like a fundraising gig to try and stay open. And they booked me, and I was nowhere near good enough, and they went bust, and I got their mower, so that's all worked out fine. I got some political beliefs. I believe that there will be a second referendum on Scottish independence, and if the Scots are serious about independence, they'll let English people vote. And then they'll be independent, because if you can rely on English people to do one thing, it's to vote against shit just to annoy their neighbours. Pretty much everything we do is to annoy our neighbours. Nobody enjoys cycling. Nobody looks at how fucked our roads are and how fucked our weather is and think now is a day for Lycra and 2 wheels. And yet they're obsessed with it. Why? They're like, well, somebody might want to visit their nan on Sunday, so I'm going to get the fuck in their way. Whilst dressing as an ageing superhero. It turns out I'm one of only about 9 British men in his 40s that hasn't considered spending £5,000 on a fucking push bike. One of only 9 British men in his 40s that doesn't wake up on a Sunday and think, well, I've stolen swimwear from a 10-year-old boy. Now I'm going to inappropriately squeeze into that and get out in the traffic, pausing only to clatter in and out of Starbucks, sounding like a gang of fucking tap dancers. What I wanted to happen last time was for Scotland to vote to stay with us and then for us to tell them they couldn't. Just the next day, like, sorry lads, while you've been talking about it, we've been talking about it. And the thing is, bagpipes are shit. We reckon you only play them to annoy us. And we've checked online and we can make our own shortbread. So, you know, Braveheart the fuck off. And clearly it wouldn't be like a permanent thing. It would just be like for a little while until their economy was in tatters and their cities were on fire and there were children starving in the street and Sean Connery turned up to make us feel bad about it. So about 8 to 10 days. And then we'd let them come back, but with conditions. Like, you can come back, but that wall needs to get higher and you're paying for it. And there's people outside that we don't need anymore and you're having them. We don't need everybody. Have a look around at society. There are people we can do without. Just cut them right out. We'd be better off with that. You're getting nervous now. Don't get nervous. We don't need people that put eyelashes on their cars. I thought they'd mostly died out. But I've been in Liverpool for an hour and a half and I've seen 3. Just flag them down, just explain, look, sorry, you're not quirky, you're a tit. And then just rip the eyelashes off, you're doing them a favour, send them on their way. We don't need those people. We don't need men with white Range Rovers and orange wives. We can lose all of them. We don't need anybody that would look at a dog and think that needs clothes. We don't need the Sunday cyclists because they're only doing it to annoy us. Just knock them off. Just knock them off the bike, plant eyelashes on the body. We don't need people who own restaurants, cafes and pubs who serve food on shit which is not a plate. How did it even fucking start? Did somebody go out for a pizza and they went, oh, so you've got an authentic wood-fired pizza oven, which is great because I would like an authentic Neapolitan pizza. Naples, of course, the birthplace of the pizza, the wood-fired pizza oven reaching a temperature of nearly 800 degrees centigrade, essential for the cooking of the authentic Neapolitan pizza with a very, very thin, hand-stretched, crusty base and the rich, herby tomato sauce and the freshest mozzarella, and then just flashed in that super hot oven for about 90 seconds so it comes out perfect. But once you've done that, could you put it on a bin lid? I don't want a bin lid pizza. I don't want a helmet of soup. I don't want bangers and mash on a quarry tile with broccoli and a flower pot. Because I will guarantee bangers and mash on a quarry tile equals lapful of onion gravy. I ordered fish and chips at a pub in Devon, but fuck me, it was artisan fish and chips, which meant that the fish was arranged on a tiny little piece of net on the edge of the plate. Presumably to show me how they'd caught it, because how else would I enjoy my food without knowing the manner of its death? The chips were presented in a miniature shopping trolley. Presumably to celebrate the fine British tradition of throwing shopping trolleys into rivers and canals. Obviously, I stole it because I wanted to pretend to be a giant in Morrison's. At the side of the fish and chips, mushy peas and tartar sauce. Smeared on driftwood. So it looked like a passing albatross had shit on a fence post. Now, I'm not a fussy eater. Look at me, I'm not a fussy eater. But if I'm eating out, I want to know the stuff's been in the dishwasher, and I've got a dishwasher, and my dishwasher does not have compartments for driftwood and fishing nets, and flower pots and quarry tiles in shopping trolleys, and fucking bin lids. It's pretty much the limit of my political beliefs. I have some very specific political beliefs concerning the relaxation of domestic planning consent for extensions to houses in North Gloucestershire. Although I know you're rolling your eyes going, oh, fuck me, not another comic talking about the vagaries of the domestic planning consent system for the Cotswolds and Forest of Dean. But mate, it's my truth and my life and I've got to live it, so strap the fuck in. 184 quid to register the application. They keep that win, lose or draw, the cunts. 17 pages of forms. Can I do it online? Can I? Fuck, gotta be hard copy. I send it in, they send it back. Why? Because I've done 3 pages of it in blue. So I do it again in black and I send it off and they write to me and they say, thank you very much, we received your plans. And then I hear nothing for 3 months and then they write to me again and say, thank you very much, we've received your plans. And then they come and have a look at the site and they photograph the site and they measure the site and then they write to me and they say, we photographed and measured the site, and I write to them and say, thanks. And then they put up little laminated notices on telegraph poles near my house advising people of my proposed construction so they can register objections if they feel that it would adversely affect their enjoyment of their property. Now, I put it to you that if your life is ruined by my kitchen being a bit bigger, then probably your life was already a bit shit. But clearly they've had some objections because they write to me and they said there have been some objections. You need to make some amendments to your plans. They send me a list of amendments I need to make to the plans. I do the plans again with the amendments that they told me to make. I send them in, they say no. In the time that's taken, my next door neighbour's had a second kid. Despite the fact that their first kid adversely affects my enjoyment of my property by being a horrible little free-range tow rag called Barnaby. Now, the problem with Barnaby is that Barnaby's parents have decided that Barnaby should set his own boundaries. And the boundaries he's chosen are those of a 17th century pirate warlord. Barnaby is 4 or 7 or whatever age that tall and apparently going to school not very much is. Not an expert. My wife and I, well, we can't have kids because we've got really nice stuff and we like lions. Barnaby thinks that it's appropriate to pretend to be a helicopter and or dragon at 6:15 on a Sunday morning while his dad's getting ready to go cycling like a cock. And I was not consulted about their proposed extension to their family. No notices appeared on telegraph poles near my house advising me of their fertility and likelihood of fucking. So I could go to the council and object and go, look, they've got one already and it's awful. They shouldn't be allowed another. Well, I just think it should be a level playing field, madam. If I have to get permission to extend my house, they should get permission to extend their family. That makes sense, doesn't it? Of course it does. 184 quid to register. Can't afford that. Can't afford a kid. Simple. 17 pages of forms. Too stupid to fill them in. Too stupid to breed. Yes? Yeah? Yes, and that's how the Nazis started. That is why I don't talk about politics on stage, because sometimes you come to a perfectly nice Liverpudlian fire hazard and it's... What, there's one staircase and it's made of diesel. Come to a perfectly nice venue and it turns out to be full of Nazis. I try not to chat to people in the audience. A lot of comics like to have a chat with people in the audience and they ask people what their name is and where they're from and what they do for a living and why and what the best thing about it is and why, and if they're in a relationship, who they're in a relationship with and why, and what the best thing about it is and how long they've managed to drag it out, how much longer they reckon they can drag it out until their dark secret is uncovered and the whole thing falls apart, leaving them with a few happy memories but mostly regrets and recriminations and 4 to 6 bin bags of weird shit in the back of the car. And I don't ask because I've got no interest whatsoever in any of your lives. And also, the last time I tried to have a chat with somebody in the audience, it went horribly wrong. I was doing a gig near where I live in Gloucestershire. I live in a little village in Gloucestershire where there is my house and 8 other houses and nothing else. We get 1 bus a week. It comes at 11:45 on a Thursday, give or take a day. It picks up one old lady called Grace and it drives her 8 miles to the next village. And then it waits there for 40 minutes so she can do her shopping. But she doesn't do her shopping there because there haven't been a shop there since 1983. So she waits on the bus for 40 minutes, of course, because there's fuck all else to do. And then it drives her back to our village. She gets off the bus, gets into her car, fucks off into town. And the reason she catches it is because if she stopped catching it, they'd stop sending it. And the reason they send it is because there's still demand. And that is how Brexit happened. I was doing a gig near where I live in Gloucestershire, and sitting roughly where you're sitting, sir, was a posh old lady. Now, you might be a posh old lady, I don't know. I'm no expert, okay? Posh old lady wearing 3 headscarves. Headscarf, hat, headscarf, it was indoors. Headscarf number 3, being used as a sling, arm was in a bandage. I said, what happened to your arm? That was my first mistake. She said, you may or may not know that I own a prize-winning herd of Jersey cows. That's a fucking weird answer. There's no comic in the history of comedy who's looked at their gig list and thought, oh, better check the livestock register. Don't want to look like a dick. So I own a prize-winning herd of Jersey cows. When you've got Jersey cows, you, of course, want more Jersey cows, but Jersey bulls are very dangerous and notoriously bad-tempered, and the vet charges a fortune for artificial insemination. So I went on a course and learned how to do it myself. She said, you may or may not know. I'm going to level with you. I didn't know, and now I do know, and I wish I didn't, so I'm telling you to share it. When you're artificially inseminating a cow, what you need to do, stand behind the cow. That seems quite obvious. Take a pot of bull sperm. They do about 3 pints in a go. Make sure it's at room temperature, but don't microwave it. Get your hand in there, get it good and covered, good and sticky. Like, just a big scoop. Like, imagine like a 13-year-old boy applying hair gel. Like, wet look. And then you insert your arm into the cow. This is the action. And then you stimulate the cow's cervix with your thumb so that it puckers and draws up the bull sperm, maximising the chances of conception. I overstimulated one of the cows. She had an orgasm, her knees buckled, it dislocated my elbow and broke my thumb. That is why I avoid conversation with people in the audience. And that apparently is why ITV reckon I'm too rude to meet the fucking Queen. Thank you very much. Good night.